I'm very sensitive if a doctor tells me he can heal everything with just one type of protocol. I do everything. I had one doctor I met, vitamin D3, vitamin D3, vitamin D3, or with chiropractic, or with colon therapy. They spare by this one thing. There's usually their thing, their whatever, their opinion. And to my opinion, to work successfully with the patient, the doctor must be able to apply several various therapies. He must apply several various of them to be successful. And we're going to go later in these different therapies there are. And a doctor has to ask, what therapy does this man needs today most as number one before we step into others? And that changes from patient to patient. At this point, before we then step into the doctor situation, really, I should show you, which I've done in various shows. If you've seen various of my webinars, but it's the time to bring it up here again. To my humble opinion, that's a very personal opinion of mine, 95% of all doctors are a shame, a disgrace. 3% are good, and 2% are fantastic. And I had the pleasure to work with many of these people among the 3 and 2%ers, to work with them, to exchange with them, to watch them, to listen to them. It's just mind-blowing what these guys can pull off. But this is just a very small percentage. Of course, I wish from the bottom of my heart that you find doctors in this 3 and 2% range and only work with them. But I hear, of course, people thinking out loud, well, how do I find these guys? Yes, it's not easy, it's difficult. And be careful of one thing. If you have a friend who says, yeah, I have this fantastic doctor and I had fantastic results and blah, blah, blah. Is he really successful with people, or was it a piece of luck? And then again, what works for Peter may not work for Paul. So it's time now to step into the first category, the good doctor. The good doctor. What can I say about the good doctor? What's the difference between this 2 and 3% compared to 95? According to my observations, these people have realized once they left the university, they don't know really how to help people. And they admit it to themselves and to others. And then after university, they started to study, to learn, to attend seminars, integrate new and different technologies into their practice, new applications, always looking for something new, something better, for more knowledge, for more solutions, to really help the patients. Some even find their way to the workshops, to mine, which is nice. Whatever they do it with a great devotion. It's in their heart. It's their life. It's their calling. And they live for that, like in many other industry. There are people who just go to work and people who say, this is my calling. And they always deliver just more quality. So they educated themselves. They remain self-critical. And they are proud about what they're doing, but they don't stop learning. And money has never been really their main motivation. It's nice to see people who are true to themselves. And these good doctors learned more and more to think and act holistically. Learn to see the people, the patients as a whole. In case of illness, is there an eye problem? Not just looking at their eyes, but what causes the problem. Now, I give you a quick story of my own. When the second time in my life, the first time I came across alternative medicine was at the age of 10. The second time in my life was at the age of 16. I had fierce problems with my eyelids. I mean, they were red. I had to scratch myself all the time. The eyelids were inflamed. It was terrible. It looked terrible and it felt terrible, very painful. I went to many eye doctors, and they gave me all kinds of runarounds. Oh, you're blonde hair and blue-eyed. You're very sensitive. That comes with your physics. Yeah, there's something here. Take this pill, take these drops, put the drops. I don't know how many different drops I put in my eyes to try to get rid of it, but it never got rid of it. One day I gave it another try and went to a doctor randomly. I don't know. And I went to this doctor I never met before, and she looked at me for a minute, left and right, and she said, "Young man, you don't have a problem with your eyes. You have a problem with your liver." I left the practice, and as a 16-year-old arrogant idiot, I said, "This woman is sick. She's an idiot. I have an eye problem, not a liver problem." What did I know? Fast forwards 20, 30 years later, when I stepped into Chinese medicine, having my company in Hong Kong and in mainland China, I learned that a Chinese doctor, when you have an eye problem, and you did not just poke your eyes, it's just, the Chinese doctor never looks at your eyes. He looks at your liver. Because the liver and the eyes are on the same meridian. We'll talk about meridian a bit later. And I got a confirmation that many years later, this doctor was great. She was good. I was too young to realize, to know, and to understand. She knew what all the other doctors I came across had no idea about. It was not in their education. It was not in the scope of interest to find out more. For example, Oriental medicine. Good. So a good doctor should apply, as I said, several different technologies and therapies, should be able to apply them or have a colleague left and right to pull in to crack the case. So what is a therapy? Therapy in medicine is just the act of caring of somebody. You just care for somebody, and that's a therapy. And here I give you a rundown of therapies I want to point out to you, okay? And I'll introduce them to you, and many of them you already know, or most of them, or all of them know, but let's walk through it. So my request would be from a good doctor to apply as many of these I'll point out to you now, as many of these, being able to apply them to your body if you need these in this very moment, okay? So let's start with my all-time favorite, which is kinesiology, which I'm promoting for the last 40 years. I stepped in kinesiology 40 years ago, which I use in my life, which I use in my seminars, in my workshops, on the people, practically, okay? And this is what kinesiology is. I have here a bit of a definition I came up with. The study of functions and processes in the body. Instability of muscles indicate malfunctions and where actions are needed. Questions addresses to the body or the being are answered based on quantum physics. That may be something for some of you people new. I have a special webinar I gave about kinesiology, and you can see this on my website. I'll show it to you in a minute. Kinesiology has no or very little cost, and the basics are easy to learn by everybody. Kinesiology is not a treatment. It is purely let's call it a analysis, finding out where is what wrong, but it doesn't give you what then the treatment is. It's not a treatment plan. It's an analysis. And if you go on my website, I have there a video, muscle testing technique. How does muscle testing work? Where I explain from A to Z pretty much for the beginner what kinesiology is. I don't claim to be a specialist. I know enough to be dangerous, perhaps. I swear by kinesiology. As I said, I've mentioned it many times before. okay? Now, the next subject, the next therapy would be and that is it's not a chronicle order. It is not an order of importance, okay? Don't get me wrong. I just list them down as they came up in my mind, okay? The next one is chiropractic. Now, chiropractic, you diagnose and manipulate treatment of misalignments of the joints, especially those of the spinal column, which are held to cause other disorders by affecting the nerves, the muscles, the organs. So misalignments, which a chiropractor brings back into alignment. Now, I must say that I personally have used many, many times chiropractor. And about 20, 30 years ago, I was on the verge to become a chiropractor because I found it amazing how fast you can give people a relief in pain. And I was fascinated by it. And I looked into this, and suddenly I stepped back because I realized for myself and for others that if I came back after a day or two or three or a week, the chiropractor had to adjust the exact same thing like before. And after 4 or 6 weeks, the exact same thing like before. That made me thinking, and I decided not to become a chiropractor. However, very clearly, I'm coming off a plane from Europe ride, sitting there for 12, 14 hours on an airplane. I go to the chiropractor and have him adjusted me. No question. Why I decided not to become a chiropractor, at a bit later stage, I will explain this to you, okay? There is a reason behind this then. Good. The next therapy is body detox. In detoxification, we try to get addictive, bad, harmful toxins to leave your body. And now be careful, this doesn't happen overnight. It should not happen overnight. The entire process can take very long. While you do it, you may feel effects of the detoxing, not always pleasant. And thereafter, typical effects are of detoxing: running nose, lightheaded, headache. If it's heavy cases, you may have diarrhea or throw up as the toxins try to get out of your body. Now, as I said, I had a company in China, and I was spending over 20 years, big parts of my life, in Taiwan, in mainland China, and in Hong Kong, where I had offices and companies. And I accumulated a lot of crap. To my definition, everybody who visits, for example, mainland China for more than 2-3 days starts to accumulate a lot of crap, which is typically in water, in the air, in the food, for the most part, for the most people. Now, what's dangerous about detoxification? I'll get angry when I see commercials advertising packagings, detox in 3 days, detox in 8 days. I can tell you that when I decided to leave China and say goodbye, not again for me, China, thank you very much. Besides this, there are other reasons which I sometimes give workshops about my time in China and why I said goodbye to China. I saw coming what is coming. There were obvious indicators. I couldn't live with this anymore. So when I came back for good and said, look, that's it, it took me about 1.5 years to be really detoxed. If you detox too fast, you risk major health issues because your body, especially the liver, gets overwhelmed with the amount of toxins. It can be very dangerous. I am strictly against, that's my personal opinion, I'm strictly against quick detoxification. It's got to be done slowly, all right? Good. That's a therapy detoxification. And basically, we all need to detox. Everybody around me, everybody I meet, I would say 95 to 99% of all people who are watching my shows, who come to my seminars, webinars, need all detoxification. All, to a bigger or smaller degree, all of them. Okay. The next therapy I would like to point out, which is important for many people, is cologne therapy. Well, cologne therapy involves using water to flush out waste of the large intestines. In the large intestines sits waste material that has traveled through your body and ends up there and doesn't come out. Not enough, not fast enough, not completely. Now, concerning cologne therapy, to my definition, everybody needs it let me give you a number, every 3-5 years, everybody should have a cologne therapy. Some say every year, okay. Most people will not do that. Let's say every 2 years. Because we eat so much crap and it got to come out of your systems. Trust me, it's a big issue, and a good doctor, to my opinion, should send every patient through a cologne therapy. Some doctors, some practices offer this. They have a special room where you can buy into this. I don't know whether health insurance pays it or not, but it's not the issue. The issue is, what do we have to do to stay healthy and not die under pain? And all these therapies I just pointed out to you, and the ones coming up, I can say clearly, I believe that 100% of all these I'm pointing out to you in this webinar, I have done all by myself. I've done them. Not by myself, but I've done them. Or I had them done. All of them. And I can say that every one of them has a value. Some more here, some more there. But it has a value for everyone. Some have a bigger effect, some have a lesser effect, but they're all important. Like the last one, the next one, which was the colon therapy, right? Good. So let's move on to the next one, which is massage therapy. To manipulate the soft tissues in your body, the muscles, the connective tissues, very important, the tendons, ligaments, and skin. In massage, using varying degrees of pressure and movement. But it's something which everybody needs. I mean, I would say you could take from the street, right here now, every person who passes by and put them on the table, a massage therapist, and the massage therapist will find crap problems in every one of them. In every one of them. These are the typical problems of our modern lifestyle. No question, to my opinion. The next therapy, which is very known, not much to talk about, is diet. Diet. We eat all kinds of food. Typically, a person has the habits to eat those foods. However, a lot of these foods bring us in a dead-end street. And what we call diet today, I'm on a diet, means a special course of food to which one you should restrict yourself. Not being forced, but you should restrict yourself either to lose weight or for medical reasons, whatever it is. That's what diet is all about. And every doctor, of course, traditionally says you shouldn't eat too much that, you shouldn't drink coffee, you shouldn't drink alcohol, you shouldn't smoke, yeah. But a real diet plan needs a specialized person who's educated, who analyzes the food you eat and comes up together with you with a plan what you should change. And I tell you right here now, if you eat certain crap food, it may take you a time to do the transition and step by step exchange the bad rap bagged food for something more substantial. Next to the food diet and the food treatments is something which is called just simply nutritional supplements. Goes hand in hand with food. Because the food we have nowadays doesn't have enough nutrition. Not enough minerals, vitamins, trace elements. We don't get these products from the average food we eat nowadays. The average food is lacking it. Our soil is depleted. Our water is crappy. Our air is polluted. So we have to supplement the food we eat. Even if you eat food from a organic store, health food store, what is organic food nowadays? There's a big question. Regardless, there is not enough nutrition in our food, and we have to supplement it. And the only way, unfortunately, is that we have to buy into different products. We have to pay out of pocket and eat it, give our body what it needs on top of what we eat. The next therapy, possibly valuable, depending on the person, a bit more esoteric, the healing herbs and spices. There's much to be learned, and a lot of things are ignored, even by nutritionists, but they really usually dive into that. But the average doctor, if he has no special education, doesn't know anything about it. So you need to find somebody who knows about it or has, for example, in his praxis, a special office, a special trained person, which they sometimes have, to carry out these information and these treatments about diet, special supplements, and herbs and spices. I can highly recommend you that this should be done. There is a huge selection, and the interesting thing is when you come to more native people, it's more standard in their culture. I was the other day in Morocco, North Africa, and I was amazed by what they showed me, what we tried, what I tried on my body. I was amazed. Beautiful. Just beautiful. And we don't know. Most people don't know anything about it and don't know what they're lacking, because it used to be a part of our culture for hundreds and thousands of years. But we forgot about it. Okay. Now, another not so known therapy and not so much practiced therapy is aromatherapy, where you have essential oils for therapeutic benefit. Aromatherapy has been used for centuries, well before our time. Interesting is when you inhale it, the molecules of the scent in essential oils travel from the olfactory nerves direct to the brain. Imagine, from the olfactory nerves direct to the brain, and especially impact the amygdala, the emotional center of the brain. Very, very interesting, but underestimated and not often practiced, unfortunately. So there are quite a few treatments possible to improve the human body besides chemical pills. One of the more physical attractions and physical actions is the handling of something called fascia or connective tissue. The connective tissue wraps and connects all anatomy under the skin, down to a cell of the body like a web. like a real net of information. The connective tissue communicates intelligently with everything like a computer network. Consequently, the structure and function of fascia is integral to most, if not all, movement and physiology of the body. Nothing in your body works without connective tissue, fascia. Nothing works without it. So, and there are many different ways to handle this. One is called rolfing, where you really torture your body to make these connective tissues, which are glued, they're stuck on the muscles, which they shouldn't be, to loosen them. Different treatments, different tricks, different gadgets are offered there. And you recall that I said a minute ago why I did not become a chiropractor. And again, let me clearly say, I sometimes go to a chiropractor. I told you about that I discovered that, or I saw that after a few days, you have to go back and do the same adjustments again and again and again and again. And to my humble opinion, I may be wrong. The reason are the fascia. The fascia, the connective tissues, is so much glued that when chiropractor takes two parts and adjusts them correctly, that the fascia is so stiff and glued that it pulls out this joint again. And then with force, the chiropractor has to put it back again. And the fascia pulls it out again. That's my idea, my concept, what's going on. It's a tug of war, back and forth between the chiropractic adjustment and the fascia, which just is not right. And as long as the fascia is glued to the muscles, for example, it will never happen. It has to be done. And a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, who does that work, he did me, I'll tell you. And it was so painful. In all honesty, I said to him, if you wouldn't be my friend, I would kill you right now. And people who have done it, they will not now agree with me. In consequence, I have developed in my company a technology with a product called One Pro 400. That was my motivation, because I said, I'm not going to do this again. But I knew how important it was to unglue the fascia.